Hello and welcome back to the Real Arsenal Deal. Rav here, as always, your host. How is everyone today, wherever you are in the world? Thank you so much for joining me. Thanks for tuning in. I'm recording this Thursday afternoon, Melbourne, Australian time. The running is about to kick off. Arsenal will be back in action this weekend. I feel the international break has come at a really good time. It came at a really good time for Arsenal, especially off the back of that EFL Cup loss to Manchester City, which was still quite disappointing. I have had no interest whatsoever in rewatching that game. I'm not sure how many of you have had the appetite for it either, but it's all about to recommence again this weekend. It's going to be on like Donkey Kong. The next 6 weeks. This is where it all comes down to this running. This is where legacies are going to be written and history will be made for Arsenal. And there's a number of different things that I wanted to cover on this. Yes, I'll get into a bit of a preview segment about Southampton because that's the next match away to Southampton, the quarterfinal of the FA Cup. It's actually a bit of a quarterfinal doubleheader, isn't it? We're at that pointy end of the season now because then next up midweek next week, it's Sporting Lisbon away in the first leg. And then the big one, well, the big one for me is I've very much got my eyes fixed on the Premier League. This is just my personal taste, my personal preference. That's not to say the other matches are not important, not whatsoever. I mean, but there's still a genuine chance for a treble here. So, of course, Arsenal are going to be all guns blazing. However, that Bournemouth match next weekend in the Premier League, and then it's the second leg against Sporting, the home match at the Emirates midweek after, and then that following weekend, on the Sunday afternoon, I believe it's been moved to Sunday afternoon away to Manchester City. I mean, it's just huge. This is just an enormous period. It's like we've drawn a big breath now with the international break and a break for some, a much needed break for some key players too from Arsenal and whatnot. I'll cover that in a second as well. However, it's just about to kick off again. It's like that calm before the storm. So I'll talk a bit about that. There's a number of international matches that have been played, of course, very much with Arsenal. It's Arsenal-related players involved at both ends of the spectrum, by the way. Some enormous highs for the likes of Gyökeres, and then you've got some disappointment and dejected players returning to London, like Calafiori and Norgard, etc. So I'll talk about that. I'll talk about there's a lot of injury discussion as well. Arsenal absentees from international matches. I'll cover some of that. What else have I got on my rundown? Yes, the preview, as I've mentioned, there's that Ben White stuff that I'll just chime in on a little bit, the noise around him. And and a bit of a listener Q&A question and answer as well. Thank you for those who contributed. The switchboard's lit up again. I've got 2 responses. Woohoo. It's just like that Simpsons meme goes. The switchboard's lit up, 2 callers, our best ever. So I'll cover that up and that will round us off. So first things first, I really do feel that this international break came at an opportune time for Arsenal. It's just been unrelenting for many, many months now. I mean, it's a byproduct, and we've wanted this, right? It's the byproduct of being in multiple trophies at multiple stages. We're fighting on all fronts. We built the big squad with that in mind. However, at some point, something needs to give. Something is going to happen. I'm never bought into the quadruple stuff. I actually don't know of many genuine Arsenal fans who were really using that phrase. I think it's more been a media story. It's been a media narrative. And there's a reason it's never been done before, because it's almost everything has to go perfectly right. All the planets need to align at the right time, at the right stage of the season, the right match, having the correct number of players available, or your squad fit and firing in form. And there's a reason why it's so unique, because something inevitably has to give. This is not to say that I buy into there's a bit of a narrative from some Arsenal fans thinking, oh, that's fine about the Carabao Cup because we got bigger prizes to focus on, and it's not that meaningful a trophy and whatnot. And I understand that mentality. However, that's the kind of thing you say when you exit in the first round. When the competition first commences. I think by the time Premier League clubs join in, it's around sort of September-ish last year. And if you exit and you play you play a lot of kids and you play a lot of sort of second tier players, and you exit, you sort of shrug your shoulders and say, it's not really that important. It's just a bit of a meaningless trophy. Let's focus on the league now. But once you reach a certain stage of the competition, like once you're in the semi-final, you want to win it. I mean, it was a very tough semi-final too against Chelsea. That they try and do everything to get one over Arsenal this season, as we've seen many, many times. And it's over 2 legs. the way we won that second one as well, Kai Havertz winning in last, sorry, we're already winning, but he scored the goal that match, the only goal that match to seal the semi-final victory. And you saw the reaction. You saw the reaction from the players, the fans, the energy in the stadium. This is well, we wanted to win this. I don't think there's any denying that. So I don't subscribe to that theory that it was a good thing that Arsenal lost the final. I mean, we could have well done without all these fixtures then, right? The deeper you get into the competition, the more the fixtures stack up. So you look at some of the players right now, you look at how gassed they are. I mean, Declan Rice, he literally used that word in a post-match interview, said, "I'm shattered." You see the effect that the toll has had on him, Zubimendi, Saka, there'll be so many more, right? The fatigue-induced workload from this unrelenting season. And we could have done without those fixtures then, right? So I don't subscribe to this at all. I think once we got that deep, and as I was saying many times in the lead up, that against Manchester City, our bogey team, you want to slay the dragon. The whole Pep, the whole Guardiola and Arteta narrative, and we finished second 3 times in a row. And you want to beat them. And unfortunately, we didn't. And it was the manner of that defeat that I just thought, look, you know what? We need a little bit of a reset. We just need to take a break from this. And the players do need a little bit of a break as well, because under this pressure cooker that Arsenal operate in, something's got to give. So this has been one of the rare situations where a break has probably been favourable for Arsenal. What's not been favourable is some of the injury stuff like Madueke and Hincapié. I'll come back to that in a couple of minutes, but just generally speaking, broadly speaking, I think this has come at a really good time. From a personal point of view, I've also relished it. I've got to be honest. The toll it's been taking on me as well. This is not just in terms of content creation. I'm not saying that at all. That's part of it, yes, but mostly just being under this pressure cooker and the sleep as well. That the hours that I've been waking up at it. It's in the past, doing this once a week, it's different. But when Arsenal are playing, every 3 days for so long, I mean, by the time I recover, by the time my sleep recovers, it's the next match day again. I mean, even my wife makes passing comments about it as well. It's like, because I tell her, oh, like tomorrow morning, Arsenal are playing at 2 a.m., this is my plan and whatnot. And she's so supportive with that. But she just says in passing, like, didn't Arsenal just play? And it is just, it's that type of season. We've been in everything. We've been knee deep in basically every competition. So having this little break for me to catch up, I'm feeling a lot more refreshed as well. But I also know that it's on now. It's on like Donkey Kong. These next 6 weeks, I've already looked at the fixtures, look at the times. They're all in my calendar. I'm up for it. I'm up for the fight because history is about to be made here. I'm so optimistic, so confident that Arsenal will get over the line and we will be holding a trophy. We'll be holding the Premier League trophy in about 2 months' time, or maybe a little bit less actually. So I'll switch gears now and do a little bit of an international roundup. I haven't been closely following the matches. I'm sure if you're from some of the countries who are still participating, especially those qualifiers, it would have been a very nervous few days. And at both ends of the scale as well, the scenes in the Sweden match, I did tune in for that and saw Gyökeres's late winner. And I've never seen him react like that. I have to be completely honest. He's someone who I've just sort of associated with just a bit of he doesn't show much emotion. He's a bit ruthless in that regard, a bit Terminator-like. I've heard that description, and that makes a lot of sense to me. However, seeing his reaction, that massive relief from him, shirt was straight off, the looks on his face, some of the still images, like it's just amazing for him, absolutely incredible for him. How good was that photo, by the way, of him with the Swedish fans behind him all doing that Bane mask, their hands over their face? That's just incredible. I mean, what a moment for him. What a week for him. Actually, a hat-trick a few days ago to get them into this match against Poland, and then he follows up with the winner in the final minutes or so. So they're just incredible scenes for them. 4 goals in a week. I mean, he's the talk of the town, wouldn't he? He's the talk of the country, and good for him. And it's just you hope some of that confidence, that positive energy, you hope that can help propel him into this final stage of the season. He scored 4 goals in a week. I mean, look, would I take 4 Premier League goals from him between now and the end of the season? I mean, absolutely, I would. I would absolutely bite your hand off if that offer was if that was on the table. Ideally, four in different matches. By the way, I should qualify that statement because you'd want those goals spread out. But look, if he can bring that some of that confidence, momentum back to Arsenal, fantastic. It's a great feeling for him. Equally, though, there's you've got someone like Calafiori who played 120 minutes for Italy. They were down to 10 men. A real difficult night for them. I can't believe the stat that's been going around since that they haven't won a knockout match in the World Cup since the final in 2006. They defeated Australia on the way to that, by the way. I remember that match very, very well. Yet somehow in between that they won the Euros a few years ago with of course old nemesis Donnarumma saving Saka's penalty to win them the tournament. So I mean it's the opposite end of the scale, isn't it? You've got Norgard as well, who will be returning very dejected from Denmark going out. It's just one of those things that the players have to manage, compartmentalize. I'm sure Arsenal will be supporting them as best as possible, and we've just got to focus because there's genuine glory on offer these next few months at Arsenal. It really is, and it's going to take all of them. They're all going to have their moment. They're all going to have their opportunities to contribute, and you just hope that they're up for this fight. And I was also aware there was quite the media pushback, as there is with anything to do with Arsenal, right? I mean, with with these. With the number of players sent home or absent to begin with, so from the international squads, and look, to me, it just makes logical sense. But when does logic really come into play now with some of the media, the clickbait headlines, the rage bait, especially when it comes to Arsenal? They know exactly what they're doing, right? And I know there's a very large vocal segment of Arsenal fans online who drive that engagement too. So it's a bit of a two-way street. But to me, it just makes perfect sense. Like, why would you risk the likes of Odegaard and take him away to the Norway matches? I mean, Haaland as well, from what I understand, he was absent too because they've already qualified. So if you've got nations they've already qualified for the tournament in a few months' time, but they're just playing friendlies here and there. Like, why would you take the risk? It's the same logic with the Declan Rice's conditioning. Same with Saka. I mean, you don't need to risk them. And I think Thomas Tuchel, who has spoken very responsibly, I feel, on a number of these topics. Some of the quotes I've seen circulated around him, very refreshing, by the way, just to hear him call it like it is. He's essentially validating what we're all thinking, is that why would you risk them? They've got such an enormous workload already under their belt. They're going to have a massive workload in the summer, of course, at the tournament itself. There'll be no break. There'll be absolutely no break for the players. I think by the time the World Cup training camps meet, it's like 2 weeks after the end of the season, which is just mind-boggling, right? The way that the players are every last drop of them is just squeezed out like a lemon, right? It's insane at the moment. But it's just refreshing to hear. He said, like, why would we risk it? Why would we do that? Same thing with Spain and Zubimendi. Like, why would you do that if they're carrying some knocks or some fatigue-related injuries and they're in the red zone? Just why do it? Just send them away, send them back, let them have a few days off, let them rest, rehabilitate, just refresh the mind as much as their body. And there's absolutely no point taking the risk because then they will suffer the consequences too. If the players get injured now, right, and it's a significant one, that can wipe you out for the entire tournament too. So very refreshing to see that approach, and I guess that's why a number of Arsenal players didn't feature who otherwise would have. Trossard's another one. But equally, you can see why for the nations who have everything riding on it, such as Sweden, Denmark, Italy, I've already mentioned, of course their best players are going to play. And of course, that's why essentially the Arsenal players I mentioned are going to play every minute as well as possible. Kiwior as well, I saw. He played for Poland in that match. I know technically he's still an Arsenal player as well. Of course they're going to play because there's so much riding on the line. They don't have the luxury to sit down players and rest players. To me, it doesn't just make sense. And especially when some of the headlines I saw reference the likes of Eza. I mean, Eza and same with Odegaard, they weren't selected because they're actually injured. That if they were available, they would have played the Carabao Cup final that Arsenal lost, and very convincingly as well. We could have done with them if they were available. So it's just doesn't just make sense. Like, what's just happened to just proper rationale, proper meaningful discussion and logic? It's just all just seems to be awash now with this content heavy, clickbait heavy driven engagement landscape that we're now in. And there's no indications of that changing anytime soon, is there? Especially when it comes to Arsenal. The best way to shut all this up, or maybe not shut it up entirely, but to shift the spotlight incredibly in our favour, is go there and win. Is just go out there and win the Premier League. This is what it's going to take, because they're all waiting. They're all waiting for Arsenal to stumble. And I'm sure they all were dancing on Arsenal's grave during this break. I completely stepped back from a lot of this content anyway, as I've already mentioned. But I'm sure that they were all smiling and giggling with glee that Arsenal lost the EFL Cup final in the manner that we did, and that's probably fed into some of these narratives too. It's probably fed into the whole Ben White returning to England thing. I don't know. Would it have been as much of a big of a deal if he doesn't represent Arsenal? Maybe so. I know I'm speculating here. However, such as the cynical person that I can be sometimes when I see how Arsenal are discussed across the media, yeah, I think that very much leans into it. It's Arsenal, it's Ben White. There's a story there. Pump it out and let them all come. So I'll move on away from that point now, because amidst all this, I guess this whole cloud about who is or isn't actually injured for Arsenal with internationals, there are actually some genuine injuries. I saw the footage of Madueke's injury, and straight away I winced. And this is going to sound really, really strange, though, by the way. But when the post match footage circulated of him in a knee brace, I didn't quite panic as much about that as perhaps others would have. Like, essentially, what happens with knee injuries, I'm talking from experience here too, is at the moment that there's a knee injury, that there are precautionary measures that you take, like you strap it up. That knee brace that you saw, I think it's very much in line with that. Like, until you can properly get it scanned, you cannot risk aggravating it, restrict its movement. Ice or all those sort of protocols will come into play. So I didn't worry too much about that, seeing him hobbling in the knee brace. I was more worried about the incident itself. Because to see him without any kind of knee brace afterwards, or even on crutches or whatever, that would be more odd, because straight away what you do is that you have to take those precautionary measures. Now, since then, apparently, paraphrasing here, is that it's not meant to be as severe as possible, which is massive, because such is the nature of Arsenal's luck, especially when you've already got a number of midfielders out, like Mikel Merino. Eza looks like 4 to 6 weeks with his calf knock. And then, Odegaard's still a question mark. You don't know when he's going to come back in. Apparently this weekend against Southampton, but it remains to be seen. Waneri's on loan. And then you start to sort of problem solve. You're thinking, well, is this a way now to get Saka into midfield? Because there is some logic to that as well. I mean, he's not going to play the role in the same way Odegaard does, of course, and there's a lot more to it. By the way you marshal the press, the way you dictate the play, you drop in deep and carry the ball forward, give that control and that technical control back to Arsenal. There's so much more to it than just having another body step into midfield. But for Saka, it does make a little bit of sense as well, because what we've clearly seen, or what I've clearly seen, I should say, is that his pace is not quite the same. He's still probably feeling the effects of those significant injuries last season and this season. And there's a genuine possibility that we may not see that explosive acceleration, that pace back for Bukayo on the wings on this season. It might take him another 6-12 months to fully condition until he's got that sort of confidence, that zip. Because what I've seen in the last few weeks is that in the past, peak Saka, he was able to get a shot away. He was able to quickly cut away or burst away onto his left and take the shot. But just that little split second moment is just not quite there. It's not quite happening for him at this point in time. And that's okay, because you can understand why. He's got so much football behind him from the age of 16, 17 onwards. So I thought this makes sense, that Saka coming into midfield, that you can protect him from the wings. He wouldn't have as many explosive sprints in midfield as he does out wide. And of course, we were all thinking naturally that means that Madueke will come in on the right to be supported by Dowman. But then, of course, the first match. The first match of the internationals, you see that injury to Madueke, and you're potentially season ending, right? If it's a significant ligament injury, that's you're at that point of the season now. It's April as I record this, and the season finishes in the third week of May, or depending if Arsenal make the Champions League final, finishes the end of May. That could potentially be his season wiped. But thankfully, it's not meant to be as bad. Touch wood, fingers crossed. I'm hoping he's back sooner rather than later. So yes, there's still some question marks though about what Arsenal do, especially in this match against Southampton, because Hincapié as well, looking at the footage, to me, it looked pretty clear cut that he's either pulled a groin or a hamstring. This is just me, like my interpretation of watching the footage. He's running back. It's around the 65th or 70th minute, I believe, in that match. He's representing Ecuador. and he straight away looked in pain and came off soon after. So to me, that was a classic muscle injury. But apparently, again, I'm paraphrasing here, that it's not meant to be as severe as first thought. Supposedly, it's cramping, and he was just taking precautionary measures and coming off. And how huge that will be for Arsenal, by the way, because they're all going to have their time. They're all going to have their opportunity to contribute. And what you don't want is to be faced in a situation this weekend that if you've got Calafiori, who's just come off the back of playing basically every minute for Italy, if he's not ready to start away to Southampton, Hincapié's not ready to start. You've got Lewis Skelly next up. And then in my head, I'm starting to think, well, who else can play left back? I know Timbers played there as well, but he too is suffering from injury. He too missed out on the Carabao Cup final. I'm not sure of his timeline yet to return. I'm sure Arteta will be asked that in his press conference, but we all know Mikel, right? He's not going to. He's not going to. He always keeps his cards close to his chest. I should say. We're not going to get too many answers to some of these questions until the actual team sheet is read out. So all of a sudden, I'm looking around. I'm shuffling through the squad list, thinking who could play left back. Because maybe there's an opportunity now with the midfield injuries too for Lewis Skelly to step inside to midfield. We haven't quite seen it yet. I mean, it was about to happen, wasn't it, a few matches ago in the previous round of the Cup? But unfortunately, Calafiori was injured in the warm-up and Lewis Skelly went back to left back. So, you can see it's on Arteta's mind. It is a possibility. Maybe he does it this weekend. Maybe it is a great time to do it because let's. I'm just thinking out loud here as well because last Cup match he started Dowman and he started Marley Salmon at right back. Yes, he did. That's right. So maybe if Timber's available, could Timber switch over to the left if Hincapié, Calafiori are not ready to start? I don't know. And that perhaps allows one of Saliba or Gabriel to timeshare one centre-half spot alongside Mosquera. That there are genuine options across here, by the way. You don't want to shuffle the pack too much. I know Arteta is not going to make too many wholesale changes. I mean, it's not the stage of the competition now to make 10 or 11 changes, right? I think he wants to win this quarterfinal. He'd want to win the quarterfinal against Sporting, of course. He's just going to be all guns blazing. So maybe what we're going to see is something like 4 or 5 rotations or 4 or 5 changes to that lineup. And obviously heavily use the bench in the second half. But there are some real options throughout. I would love to see Dowman start. I would love to see Marley Salmon start as well. And then if the likes of, say, Madueke or Havertz, Odegaard, if they start to share some of these forward positions, you've got Jesus as well, I haven't mentioned yet, who hasn't played much football at all lately. You'd imagine he'd be pretty fresh. Maybe he'll probably start against Southampton. There's a lot of options there to call upon. There's Martinelli too, of course, who scored a fantastic goal for Brazil, by the way. How good was that finish on his left foot? Yes, straight away, the cynical side of me was thinking, where's some of that finishing for Arsenal? But, look, he's someone who's still so important to Arteta's project. He's been there since the start. He gives everything he can. I can't dislike Gabriel Martinelli, despite his shortcomings and frustrations sometimes in front of goal. He will probably start as well, depending on how he return. I think he's actually going to be the last player to return to London. He's probably got the greatest distance to travel. But yeah, there's minutes available all across the board. So I'm going to have a crack actually now. Why not? I'm sure I'm going to get this wrong. I'll have a crack though at a predicted 11 for Southampton. So I'll start from the back. I do think Arteta will stick with Kepa for this one. I've just got that feeling. For me personally, it should be Raya. However, I think he will give Kepa another opportunity, especially to atone for what happened in the cup final. So Kepa in goal. I'm going to say White at right back. Mosquera. Probably Gabriel will start and maybe timeshare that spot with Saliba in the second half. Left back, I think Lewis Skelly. In midfield, I think Norgard, if he's fit available, I think he's an automatic inclusion on this one. Odegaard is supposedly fit. Look, it remains to be seen, of course, but Odegaard apparently is fit. And if he's ready to start this match, I mean, why not? If he can get, say, 50, 60 minutes under his belt, with the lead up to what Arsenal have soon after, I think that makes a lot of sense if his body is ready to handle that. I also think Havertz will play in midfield alongside him. On the left, it'll likely be, I just talked myself out of Martinelli, didn't I, given the distance he's got to travel. But I'm going to say it'll be Trossard on the left, Gabriel Jesus, centre forward, and Max Dowman on the right. So let's see how many of those actually are named on the team sheet. I'm fully expecting to get that completely wrong. I should have flagged, actually, if White is not able to start, Marley Salmon time. Why not? just like he did in the last round of the FA Cup too. So just before I get to the final segment of this recording, before pressing publish, I'm going to cover off 2 listener questions. I just think now is a really, really important time for Arsenal. It's probably the most critical phase of the season that we've worked so hard to be here. We've worked our backside off. We deserve to be sitting where we are in the Champions League. We've earned the right for that favourable draw. When you win 8 from 8 in the group stage, you make your own luck. We've earned that right. We've earned the right to be where we are at the top of the Premier League with this, and we want to keep pushing that forward, accumulate as many points as possible, place all the pressure back onto Manchester City. And we've earned the right to be in this position in the FA Cups. And now is the time. This stage of the season is where history is made. Now is the time. You're looking for heroes to step forward, put their hand up, take the game by the scruff of the neck, take the opportunity by the scruff of the neck, and be the one to say, I'm going to lead Arsenal to glory. We've seen it so many times in the glory days of Arsenal, the teams of yesteryear. Around this time in 2002, I remember this was Freddie Ljungberg time, especially after the loss of Pires earlier in the season to a very severe ACL injury. His knee injury wiped him out for the rest of the season. You have others who step up, come forward and say that this is my time. And this is absolutely what we want from Arsenal. You have the chance to etch your name into glory, into the Arsenal history books. And I'm so positive that that's what will end up happening. You've got players who are right on the cusp of that greatness. Anyone from Saka to Rice, Gabriel, Saliba, David Raya as well. History is about to be made. I'm so confident of this. I know that this may come back to bite me later on and this may blow up in the face, but if you've been a long-time listener of my channel, thank you very much. If so, I've been pretty consistent on this, that I do believe this is the season that brick by brick, Arsenal are building what looks like to me a Premier League trophy come season end. I really do believe it. And now is the time to go out there and show it. So lastly, to wrap this up, I'm aware of the time now. It's blown out a little bit. So thank you to the 2 questions who contributed. I will read them out. So first, we've got Matt's All, folks, and he has asked, hello, mate. Question, you have a red button. If you press it, Arsenal win the league and nothing else. Don't press the red button and let the rest of the season play out. What do you do? What a brilliant question. I've never really thought of it that way. And straight away, as I was reading that, I was imagining in my head that I'm smashing the red button, that I'm just pressing it down repeatedly. I really, as this season's gone on, I really realized how much I miss Arsenal being Premier League winners, Premier League champions. I really do miss that. It's something I very much took for granted in my early days of following Arsenal from the mid-90s onwards. You kind of just thought that Arsenal are always going to be up there, or they're going to be in contention. And if we fall away for a season or two, we will rebuild and come back to the top of the table. Unfortunately, no. For a whole host of reasons that we all know about, of course. But I really want the Premier League. I want that more than anything. Even in this next run of fixtures, this is not to diminish the importance of Southampton away and Sporting Lisbon, and not to diminish any of that. I want all of them, of course. The Premier League, though, we can see it now. We see there's a pathway there, especially with us winning the last few Premier League matches, City stumbling, dropping points where they were expected to win. This is as good an opportunity as we're going to get in quite some time. Especially last season, we had no pre-season involvement. There wasn't a major tournament. There was no internationals. We weren't part of that Club World Cup, that fiasco of a tournament. It's not going to be the same next season. Like I've already mentioned, I mean, the World Cup is going to start just 2 weeks after the season ends. The players are going to just, pack their bags and go off again to play a whole nother tournament. It's going to be a disrupted start to next season, and players' conditioning and the workload, it's going to be a different dynamic then. This is the one. This is the time that I want this Premier League trophy so badly that in my head, right, I don't want to venture too far down this other thought pattern, but if Arsenal don't this season, if we stumble from here, I do have a worry. What happens to this? Yeah, I don't want to finish that sentence actually, because I don't want to give that thought too much oxygen. But this is the one I want. I want the Premier League. I am very content in smashing that red button, taking the Premier League, and rather than sort of rolling the dice and seeing what, if any, of the three competitions that we end up with. I want this league so badly. And lastly, final question for now is from Luke. Thank you so much for your comment, mate. So he has written to me. He said, sorry to hear about the London trip. Sucks what's going on in the world at the moment. Do you know if you'll come back next season instead? Look, for context, what Luke is addressing is that in previous recordings, I'd made mention that me and my family, the four of us, were booked to come visit London. Funnily enough, we were due to fly out tomorrow. At the time of booking, how were we to know? Of course, I don't think anyone knew that one morning you're going to wake up and a couple of nations have got together and decided to start bombing Iran and bombing schools and causing all kinds of madness and senseless violence. Our flights have been cancelled because, again, just spelling out the obvious, but if you're on the other side of the world, you may not realize that traveling through the Middle East is one of the major connecting corridors between our side of the world and Europe. And at the time that we booked our flights, we'd chosen that route. Anyway, so that's been cancelled. Unfortunately, we went through a long process of clawing back money and clawing back match tickets and hotel and flight and bookings and whatnot. So all of that has been sort of wrapped up. Thank you for your question, Luke. The last part of it, and look, I'm a bit reluctant to talk about this too much, just given my privilege in the world, and given I don't want to be insensitive to the genuine damage and destruction and devastation that people are suffering in those regions of the world. So just to answer your specific question about if I'm coming back next season instead, actually, as it turns out, we're actually going to come in a few weeks' time. We have been able to manage through a different carrier transiting through Asia. We are going to be in London at the end of April, early May. We are going to be at Arsenal Fulham at the Emirates and the Premier League. And hopefully, if Arsenal get through Sporting Lisbon, I will be doing my absolute best to try and be there at the Emirates Stadium for a semi-final of the Champions League 2 midweek. But yes, so that's just to round up that answer. And again, I'm sorry if that's coming across as too insensitive or anything, given what's happening in the world. So I won't talk about that too much more, but that was just to directly answer the question. Thank you for everyone who reached out. And thank you to you, as always, who choose to listen to me ramble on, talking to myself in a microphone. Please let me know how you're feeling. Are you as optimistic as I am? Please follow the show. If you're listening on audio platforms, a 5-star review really does help me on Spotify or Apple. Thank you. Please like and subscribe, comment anything you want to on YouTube. That would be most appreciated. And just keep looking after yourselves. There's a lot going on in the world, a lot of noise, and just look. Now it's just as important as it ever has been. Just to be a good human being to each other and look after each other. And I'm going to be talking to you all soon in a few days' time after the Southampton match. Hopefully talking about another Arsenal resounding victory. Until then, take care, everyone. Look after yourselves, check in with your loved ones, and come on, Arsenal.